Fans and pundits have criticised Gyokeres so much so far this season in an Arsenal shirt. So I've analysed every single shot he has taken in the Premier League so far to see if he's actually good or not. Stay tuned to see my final thoughts, and whilst you're at it, make sure you click that subscribe button down below. Now, we can see primarily from this graphic that Arsenal focus a lot of their shots from central zones, primarily just inside the penalty box. Whilst this could potentially be down to Saka's injury on the right-hand side, and also their lack of threat on the left-hand side with Trossard, Martinelli, sometimes Madueke, it's not been the strongest. I think that points towards the need to have a key central striker so that they can feast and capitalise on these chances that they are getting in these prime areas. If you have someone in that position that can finish your chances, you're going to score loads of goals. And with Arsenal's defence as well, there is no way that anyone can stop them from winning the league if they keep on that trajectory. And exactly from there is where the 6'2" absolute monster comes in. Having taken 23 shots so far already in all competitions, you can see them all from this graph. From these 23 shots, Gyokeres has only scored 3 goals. From an expected 4, so you can make of that what you will. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but maybe that is an area that we need to discuss today. Bearing in mind as well, one of them goals was from the penalty spot, and his conversion rate is only 13%. When you're paying £65 million for a striker, I think you want a conversion rate of slightly higher than that, especially when you compare it to the elites in England, in Germany, in a lot of the European leagues. So maybe there are reasons for a lot of people's concerns, but I also think that there are a lot of good points that we can also draw on. But to provide some context on that 13% shot conversion, some stats here. Marino has a shot conversion of 25%. Zubamendi and Martinelli both have a shot conversion of 33%. And the likes of Haaland and Semenyo have a shot conversion of both 31%, but from a much higher volume of data, which is proving just how good they have turned out to be this season. So they've taken a lot more shots, and their conversion rate is still significantly higher than what Gyokeres is. Is that due to tactics? Is that his problem? Is it the team's problem? Is it an Arteta problem? Let's take a look. So we're going to begin with shot 2 in the Premier League, which, in other words, is Gyokeres' first goal for Arsenal. And it was also the third goal in a 5-0 battering for Leeds. And to be honest, it's almost the most picture-perfect Gyokeres-esque goal that you can imagine. Exactly what we were expecting. When you look at a lot of the goals that he scored at Sporting, a lot of his goals were similar in the terms of that he likes to take the ball into the channels, in transition, use his power, his strength, his striker instinct to find a shot, find an angle for a shot, and then he'll just leather it home. And that's exactly what we saw in his first goal. We're going to take a look here. So this is it against Leeds, and we can see Gyokeres is just here. He's on the last line of the Leeds defence. And that's important because it's exactly where you want your striker to be. If we get rid of that quickly, I want to show something that I think is really important. So we've got one Arsenal player here in Madueke. That's your left winger. You've got your left central midfielder there. And then you've got right winger, right central midfielder there. Look what it does is if we change this to a different colour, you can see this is Leeds right back here. Then you've got the centre backs, and then you've got a makeshift back 4, I guess, with the extra right back stepping out to Madueke. He stepped out here to mark Madueke off, understandably. So then you end up with this back line for Leeds. And what this is doing, especially with, and I want to highlight this as well, these two at the back are really important because they are stretching that Leeds defence out. And what you get from this are channels like you get here that someone like Gyokeres can run into. Let's clear all that because it's getting messy. But we can see here, that is Calafiori about to play a first-time ball over the top. And it's very effective because he can play a lovely little ball over the top that looks something like that. It goes further on, but for the sake of the photo, which then is something that Gyokeres can run onto. And he's noticed that gap in between the two, in between the two centre-backs. He's noticed this gap. There's a channel there that can be attacked. And that's what he does. And he times his run perfectly. He's onside. You can see the offside line just along there. So he's onside. He's timed it well. He's made the run the moment that he can. And he's got the upper hand against the defender. If we move it on slightly, we can see he ends up in this position. And I think this is really important. This is maybe where my first criticism of him comes in. I think, well, for starters, he's receiving the ball in acres of space, and that's exactly what you want. He's in transition, he's in the channel, exactly what we said we want. But I want to break this down to the exact moment of his first touch. I think he can do better here. Now, I know he's on the stretch and the ball's bouncing, so maybe you could argue that that's an impact. Fine, sure. But I think if you're talking about a world-class elite level striker here, his first touch is either going in this direction towards goal to cut out this player here, take him out of the equation, get through on goal one-on-one with the goalkeeper if you can, use that pace, use that power. Or if you can't do that, alternatively, with the player, the Leeds defender, going in this direction, can you take a touch back inside and then lay it off to one of the oncoming midfielders? I think there's one of two options there that he can do, and instead, what does he do? He just takes a touch down the line in this direction. That gives the defenders plenty of time to get back, and that's a problem because you're taking away the amount of space that you've just created for yourself. You've almost taken it away instantly, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on as well, because we've seen some things online that I think feed into this. But his first touch, I don't think is good enough for a striker. Now, obviously, I'm about to bite the bullet a bit here based on what he goes and does. But he gets himself into this position just out here on the edge of the box. Good position to be in. Arguably, he should be in a better position by now with a better touch. But that's done now. As we're used to seeing, though, he is not afraid of finding a way to get a shot. However, it doesn't matter. And what I really like here is his ability to see the space. He sees this space here, in between three Leeds defenders. He notices it, and he attacks it really well. In other games, sometimes in this position, the striker loses the ball. He tries to take his man on, or he goes this way, and he's beat. He loses the ball, the attack phases out, and you're thinking, what a wasted chance. Instead, what he does is, let's get rid of them again. He takes a really nice touch. He pushes this ball just behind Struijk. Hang on, I'm going to change the colours. So Struijk is heading in this direction. Bogle and I think it's Rodon or whoever it is are recovering. So they're all coming back. What Gyokeres does is he just takes a touch inside here into what we said, that little pocket of space. And we end up in this position. And this is where it gets really interesting. So as I said, he's beaten two players here before he takes a shot. And now what's really interesting is, in this situation, where are you shooting? I think probably 999 out of 1,000 strikers that you ask, that's going in that direction. You are, let me change the colour so it's more obvious. You're shooting that way. Low, high, doesn't matter. On your right foot, you are going that way. What does Gyokeres does? He spots the movement of the defenders, sees the way their momentum's going, knows that people think he's going to shoot into that far corner, and instead, he manages to find a shot into the bottom left corner. Goalkeeper, no chance. And it's a really nicely taken goal. And I think that's exactly what we expect from someone like Gyokeres, is to find them moments and finish them off. And that is what you pay £65 million for a striker for. And I think that shows the good side of his game. It shows both the bad with the touches and the way that he's taken the ball, but he's managed to recover himself and really work a shot. And that's important. That's what you want your strikers to do. The only issue that I feel that needs to be discussed in this goal, though, was that first touch. And it's really something that I wanted to touch upon, because Thierry Henry went a little bit viral online for a clip of him talking about, I think it was against Athletic Club in the Champions League. Gyokeres was through on goal and he took an awful first touch. It was a bouncing ball. It was difficult. And a lot of people saying just because Thierry Henry could do it doesn't mean Gyokeres should be able to do it. But I do agree in that if you want to be talked about in the Harry Kane levels or the Erling Haaland levels, that first touch, your ball carrying direction, is something that must massively improve. And I do think that's what's setting him apart. But having said that, if he can master that, he can go to a very top level. Now, I think to really understand Gyokeres' role within the Arsenal system, we have to talk about how they set up. And on paper, Arsenal typically line up in a 4-3-3 with a lot of structure, but a lot of dynamic movement. They're very fluid, but they're also very methodical in how they go about their attacks. And if we look at their shape, it lines up something like this. Very basic, but it's a 4-3-3. You can see Gyokeres leading the line. Obviously, there are some players that might interchange. And I think this often leaves Gyokeres in, well, actually, let's talk about in possession. They transition into something like this. It becomes more of a 3-2-5, and it can become a 2-2-6 at times, especially as we see from this moment. Timber can make this run into the pocket, into the box, and we've seen him getting a lot of good chances this season. I do think you need a better final third right back to really get this team going. He's not the best, but he can do it, and I think that's really crucial to how they play. Odegaard likes to play these dinked balls over the top as well. He's almost taken a deeper role this season so that he can find more passing opportunities. He can play these more intricate passes for the penalty box entries. And Gyokeres is often the one getting on the end of it. Pardon me. And then you also have this moment in this side of the pitch. Eze and Rice both like to attack the box in this half space. And then you've got Calafiori, who can sometimes do that if Eze goes wide. Sometimes you could see Rice in this position and Calafiori inside. They can interchange. But either way, you often have someone who goes wide to try and get a cross in when they're recycling the ball. And Gyokeres, being his height, being his strength, and who he is, keeps making these runs towards the post where he can try and get a header. Crosses are important in this team. Now, yes, they're not necessarily constant and they're not frequent, but they are an impact. And I do think that's something we need to take note on. Similarly, when we look at Arsenal without the ball, they defend in a 4-4-2 mid-block. Looks something a bit like this. And it's very simple, but it's very effective. And again, I think Gyokeres' position in this team is very important. He can press with such intensity. They like to jump into a man-for-man press high up the pitch as soon as they can. And we're going to look at an example of that in a minute. But where they can, they sit in this block. It's really difficult to play through. And Gyokeres can either be an intense presser, he can press whoever's got the ball, whether it's the goalkeeper, the centre-backs. He can curve his run to force them onto their weaker foot, and he's very good at it. He can also sit deeper and block off the number 6. Both absolutely fine, but they like to apply maximum pressure where possible, and Gyokeres is also involved in this. And I think his off-the-ball work needs to be noticed. His defensive work is actually much better than I think a lot of people are noticing. In fact, Arsenal actually rank second in the Premier League so far for PPDA. They have a stat of 9.9, and PPDA means passes per defensive action. If you don't know what that means, it's pretty much how many passes the opposition can have before you win the ball back. So the lower number, the better, and only Bournemouth have a better stat so far this season. Additionally, up until the end of September, no player pressed more in the final third than Viktor Gyokeres in the Premier League. That's how good he's being. Off the ball. I'd like to make that very key. Off the ball, he is really showing his determination to do what he can to win Arsenal the ball back, create high turnovers, and create chances for himself. That's really important. And I'm glad that he's doing that and he's proving that he can do that, because that is an area that a lot of strikers lack in their game. Adding goals to his game can come. Adding the defensive work is much harder in a striker. If they don't want to do it, it's hard to make them want to do it. He seems to want to do it, and that's really good. With this in mind, Gyokeres gets a lot of chances in the middle of the box. When he's pressing, he wins the ball back. His team wins the ball back high. And what I think is really key is you need to have consistency and good movement when it comes to chances in this area. And I'm specifically talking about this area. As we said, that is a key area for Arsenal when they come to their attacks. That is the area where the ball is being won at times when the opposition are trying to play out from the back. He needs to be crucial in them moments. He needs to be the man that they can rely on to finish the chances. And that's where I do have a bit of a problem. Shots 1, 5 and 14, I nearly forgot that, show this pretty well. Each in these games, Gyokeres has the possibility to prepare himself better for these moments. And I think that's the little things that, again, he needs to work on. These could be high XG chances. They are high XG chances, but they could be even higher if he did the groundwork slightly earlier. He just needs to anticipate slightly better. Let's have a look at what I mean by that. But again, we're going back to that Leeds game. I'm not only going to talk about this Leeds game, but it's a very key moment. I think it's a massive chance. And I think it's his first shot in an Arsenal shirt as well in the Premier League. Look at this. They're pressing high. The ball, as you can see, is over here. It's being played along the back line. You've got Gyokeres pressing like this. You've got Saka pressing. You've got Zubamendi pressing. You've got players blocked off all over the pitch. This player can't receive the ball because he's being blocked off by Gyokeres. So there's lots of movement. Timber jumping to press as well. Over here, you've got someone that can press in two directions. It's really effective as a high press, so you have to be prepared, and that's exactly what Gyokeres isn't in this instance here. The ball is won back here by Zubimendi. Very high press, Stach loses the ball. And in this situation, I want to highlight where Gyokeres is. Here he is. Actually, let's zoom in on him, just so you can really see where he is. There he is. He's in the 6-yard box near enough. He's so close to the goal. He needs to be better prepared. And Zubimendi forces Stach into a mistake. The ball just gets... I think he's trying to pass it back here. It ends up going in this direction. Gyokeres has to pounce on that. And he does. But look how much space he has. Look at how much space he has. He's got all that space. And there's so much opportunity there that he doesn't take advantage of. And the issue that it comes down to is composure. We're going to look at the next photo. This is where he is. You can see here, and again, let's zoom in on him. Look what he's doing. He's going to ground. He's decided he's going to take the shot first time by sliding on the floor and just swing a right foot at it and hope it goes towards the goal. That is not what an effective striker does. This enchant is entirely down to composure, not so much technique, and I think that's really important because I think Gyokeres' technique is impeccable. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when he executes these moments that's really poor. He's not turned around to look where the goalkeeper is, where the goal is, how much time he's got. I think in this situation, he can take a touch with his left foot, kill the pace of the ball, take it down, and just strike it there. Strike it into, or strike it that way. You've got options. It doesn't matter which way he chooses to go. If he kills the ball, he can then plant his foot and get maximum power through it 5 yards away from goal with no one contesting for the ball. I think that is a massive, massive chance. The XG, I would love to know what the XG on this chance was actually. I don't even know. But think about what Haaland would do in that situation. What would Harry Kane do in that situation? He's stopping the ball and he's taking the strike. But what's really important is we're going to go back. Oh, no, not that one. We're going back to this photo here. Gyokeres doesn't do one very simple thing, and it's massive. As Zubimendi is applying pressure, yes, Gyokeres is making his movement back in this direction. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But regardless of where on the pitch you are, one massive detail, you have to scan. You have to check your shoulder. The moment the ball turns over, check your shoulder. Simple. And he doesn't do it. He doesn't look to notice. Goalkeeper's still on his line. Saka's taking this guy up. I think that's Rodon. I don't know. I could be wrong. Is miles away from him. So he's got space. He's got so much space and time, and it's so infuriating to watch. Because if he just scanned, he takes a touch and he scores. Now, as a Chelsea fan, I'm so glad he's missed this chance. Don't get me wrong. But as just a football fan, take a touch. Look over your shoulder, take a touch. And your XG for this chance goes way up. Now, not everything's about XG. You still have to finish it, obviously. But he can create such a good chance for himself. He can pretty much have, even better than a penalty, a guaranteed goal. And he chooses not to take it. And if Arsenal need a poacher in the box, that's what he has to be. And this is proving why he's not quite able to do that job yet. And now, the same thing happens in the Forest game that we're going to look at. And this happens to be shot number 5. Now, this is slightly different, but it still comes down to anticipation. And again, or more so than movement, actually. A bit of both. More so than the first goal. There's more work to do in this, and I don't think this is going to create an exactly high-scoring chance. But he's in a perfect position to at least create more of an opportunity for himself. Now, Eze has the ball over here. I don't know if you can see it. Not very well. But he's got the ball over here. And you can, there we go. You can see it a bit better there. And this is Gyokeres here. His field of view is he's looking at what's going on. He's looking at Eze. And you can see Eze's intention. Eze wants to cut the ball back here. Obviously, on his left foot, that's what he's going to try and do. And actually, fair play to Eze. With 3 men around him, he does a very good job. But this is exactly where Milenkovic wants him. This is Milenkovic here, the centre-back. He wants to be able to block off Gyokeres so that he can't make this run in front of him. That's all he's trying to do. But I think Gyokeres can do better in this moment. I think he can recognise this space just here. he can see that space. Surely he can see that space because he's looking at it, and he can just make a quick movement into it. I think he should be positioned, instead of here, I think he should be somewhere more like here, alongside Milenkovic, so that Milenkovic is really scrambling to try and push him off, just try and cause a bit more havoc. I think he just needs to move that so much more, and I think this chance completely changes. I think it's a completely different chance if he does that. Once the cutback comes in, we see it here. Once the cutback comes in, look at him now. He's stretching with his right foot. Here we go, I'll make it even clearer. He's stretching with his right foot to slide in front of the ball to try and win it before Milenkovic. Regardless if he wins it or not, which actually, to be fair, he does. You can't do anything there. The ball goes back up in this direction. Not in the goal, that is. Back in this way. Like, it's miles away. It's not even a chance, really. It's just a really poor shot. If he made that run across Milenkovic, even just half a second earlier, I think he gets to the ball before him and he can plant his foot. And I think that's something he really needs to work on, is planting his foot before he strikes the ball. When he does, as we saw in that first goal, he can hit it cleanly, he can hit it with power, pace, direction, everything. He's so good at it. But he can't seem to plant his foot sometimes. Instead of scrambling around on the floor, put your right foot down and swing your left foot at it, because you're there. If you made that move slightly earlier, you block off the striker, right foot goes down, left foot swings, and you can have a shot. You have a shot in near post. Aim it across goal. It doesn't matter. You just have a better chance than what you do with a slide tackling the football. It's just not going to work. Right, having said all this, he does do it well sometimes. And this goal is really impressive. It looks simple, but there are examples of good movement in this goal. And I actually think it's the perfect example of both anticipation and movement. It really sums it up nicely when he does it right. I'd like to emphasise that. Here we go again. It's almost similar to what we've just looked at. Eze, ball on the left-hand side here. The ball's up here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's bouncing. Look at Gyokeres. This is Gyokeres here. The intentions here are obvious, right? I mean, if you play FIFA, you know this is a cutback across goal and you've got a tap in. That's what you're hoping for, right? Just play it across there and Gyokeres gets on the end of it. And that's exactly what happens. That is exactly what happens. But what is most crucial here is the timing of his movement and actually the direction of his run. And most people won't notice this kind of thing when you're just watching it first time. But it's really interesting. Gyokeres starts just slightly further back and to the left. He's a bit further away from Morato than what he is now. But what he does is he just curves his run. Not by much, but you can't really see it there. But he curves his run, not by much, but in this direction. He just cuts in front of Morato slightly, and that both gives him time and space, so that when the ball comes across, he's in front of the defender. He's behind Milenkovic, so he's not having to contest in the 50-50 to win the ball. He's there ready to hit the ball cleanly. And on top of that, again, when he's in this position here, instead of just sprinting full throttle in this direction, hoping he gets to the end of it, he knows that if the cross comes in and he's already sprinted past it, the ball's going to be behind him and that's a chance wasted. He slows his run down. As he's doing that curved movement, he slows down. Not by much, not for long, but it's enough. So it means that as this ball comes across the face of goal, he's there for it. He's there in this position to tap it in, as we can see here. Ball comes across, and let's zoom in again. Just behind Morato there, you can see, was it Morato? Yeah, I think I could be wrong there. Apologies. Easy goal. Nice and easy goal, right? And that's all because of the groundwork that he's put in. He's got there just ahead of the centre-back. Exactly what you want. With that in mind, we do have to remember that this is a player that's coming from a weaker league, into a much harder league that has harder duels. It has more tactical and physical battles, but it also means being clinical is crucial. You can look at the data in two ways. He's 1 XG under what he should have scored. So he's expected to score 4 in this moment. He's only scored 3 so far. Seeing the chances that he had, he could have outscored that number quite comfortably. Seeing the chances we've looked at today, he could be on 6 or 7 goals, I reckon. Obviously he's not. He's only 1 under though, so you could look at it in the sense that maybe only being 1 under, new signing, isn't that bad. I don't sit on that side of the fence, unfortunately. I think he should have more goals based on what we've seen so far. And from what we saw at Sporting, he has the capabilities to do it as well. Now, shots 4, 8, 10 and 15 were all headers, and I intentionally left them out of this video. I did want to look at them. He's got good heading, but so far there's not enough data to really show that he's convincingly good or bad at it. I mean, they've not been great headers, I'm not going to lie, but I don't think that that's something that we can really criticise him on because they've not been in the best positions either. So that would be harsh. Having said that, I do think it's something he could work on his consistency for. He does have the size, the strength, the power to get into chances in the box, beat his centre-back to the ball, and get a good header on goal. I think that's something he should be doing more often. I think there's things he can work on. Headers and first touch and consistency, movement in the box, scanning, composure, lots of things that are being detrimental to his game so far, but there are also lots of things that are very good. And we can see that in the data as well. The data is strong. In the Premier League, compared to other attackers and midfielders, he ranks 6th for XG. That's not awful, with a score of 3. He ranks 4th for shot creating actions resulting from a shot with 3. That's okay. When you look at the other people he's in the list with, I mean, you can argue otherwise, but I don't think that's too bad. And he ranks 3rd as well for attacking penalty box touches. So that's how many touches he's had in the opponent's penalty box. He's had 43. Only Grealish and Haaland have more. I think that's a very impressive stat. Again, though, has to convert them more. I don't know how many more times I'm going to say it. With the chances Arsenal get, in the positions that they get, he needs to score them more. But the data is good. The data is there to support his intentions. I think that's the most crucial word there. The data supports his intentions, not his execution, but that's something we've spoken about. Is Gyokeres actually the right fit for Arsenal? Tactically, there are still some concerns for me. Maybe he's still adjusting. Having said that, his output and data is okay. It's not Haaland level. It's not the best, but it's certainly not like concerning. And when you compare it to the likes of other strikers in the league, he's doing all right. And maybe he's benefiting from being in a strong side. I wonder if you put him in a West Ham. I'm not saying he's ever going to move to West Ham, but if you put him in a West Ham, does he bang goals or does he really struggle because the team's struggling in this moment? That's something that I'd be really interested to see. But tactically, Vokal's, I'm going to say his name wrong, and I'm so sorry. Vokal's Football. I'm going to link the video in the description down below. Go and watch that if you want to see his tactical output into the Arsenal setup. Tactically, what he's doing for the team without the ball is incredible, and we said that in his defensive contributions. Sometimes his movements as well to create chances for his teammates is also very impressive. So he does have that in his game. As I said, it's better to have that because he wants to than try and coach that into a player. But we have also seen players like Nicholas Jackson, Darwin Núñez that have put up really strong data, really convincing data, similar to Gyokeres with the XG and shot creating actions and touches in the penalty box. They all had that kind of high number. But I don't think we're anywhere near a Kane or a Haaland level. I think it would take a huge amount of work to platform him up to that level. I think we're far off that. But if he can hit 15 to 20 goals a season, I think that fills a void that Arsenal were lacking. Kai Havertz wasn't putting up them numbers. Marino isn't going to put up them numbers. Jesus injured too much. So I think if he can do that, you're filling a void. Is he going to be an absolute monster? I don't think so. But he has the potential to be a lot more than 7 or 8 goals a season. If he finishes this season with 8 or 9 goals, that's when I think we question it. I think he should be doing better, and we have to ask why is he only getting that many goals. Regardless, though, impressive. I think our best solution from what we've seen today is that he's, my opinion anyway, he's a good player. The data supports that, and his intentions are good. It's the minute details that he is not very good at. And I don't want to say he's working on them because he's time and time again not really proved that there is it doesn't look like there's something he's working on, and that is a concern. But if he can get them to the next level, he goes to the next level. And I think that's crucial, especially where Arsenal are getting their chances. They're in his area. He needs to be the one finishing them. But let me know down below. What do you think of Gyokeres? Is he the right signing for Arsenal? How many goals is he going to get this season? Let me know down below. Was he a good signing, and how many goals is Gyokeres going to get for Arsenal this season? But, do you know, I can't believe I'm doing this. Do you know who's an even better signing this summer? Esteval for Chelsea, who scored the 95th minute winner against Liverpool in a 2-1 win last week. I was elated. Were you excited? Because I certainly was. If you want to see my review for that, go and check out this video right here on how Maresca tactically outclassed Liverpool. Click here for that. Otherwise, make sure to click subscribe down below. Plenty more content like this coming. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. See you very soon.